the Bible interpret. Let's begin here with the waters. This beast comes up out of the waters or out of the sea. What does the water or the sea represent? To get the answer, let's go to Revelation 17. Some of you know this already, I can tell. Revelation chapter 17, we got some good students here tonight. Revelation 17, verse 15, gives us the interpretation of the waters and what they represent. So here's our first clue in Bible prophecy tonight. Revelation 17:15 says, "And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are," what, my friends? Peoples, that's good. What else? Multitudes, and what else? Nations and tongues. Very, very good. So here you have the Bible interpretation of the water. Whenever you read about water in Bible prophecy, it simply symbolizes multitudes of people that speak different languages on this earth. So this is very simple. It means the beast is going to be coming up out of a populated area of this earth where many people live and many different languages or tongues are being spoken. That gives us our first clue to really interpret this tonight. But now we've got more. We got this body of the leopard, we got the feet of the bear, we got the heads of the lion, and these 10 horns. What in the world does all that mean? What does it symbolize? Where do we understand this? And folks, in order to do it, we have to leave the book of Revelation. And we've got to go to its companion book in the Bible. Does anybody know what that book is? Many of you know that. Daniel is the companion book to Revelation. And as you turn to the book of Daniel, may I urge you to go there, because we're going to be here for at least the next 30 minutes. At least the next half hour will be in the book of Daniel. And for those that may not be acquainted with your Bible in this way, let me explain something. Whenever there is something in the book of Revelation you don't understand, there's a 99% chance that Daniel will interpret it, and vice versa. If you're reading a prophecy in Daniel and you don't understand it, there's a 99% chance that Revelation is going to explain it. The two books work hand in hand, and they interpret each other. They're the two great prophetic books of the Bible. So let's go to chapter 7, okay? We're studying another prophecy of Daniel. Last night we studied one. This is going to be a parallel to that prophecy. And in Daniel chapter 7, he has another vision. Now, if you all remember last night, we studied Daniel had a vision. What was the vision of? Do you all remember? Yeah, the great image. Remember that with the head of gold, and the breast and arms of silver, belly and thighs of brass, legs of iron, and so on. This is going to be a similar vision, only it's using different symbols. So let's begin to take it apart step by step and see if we can interpret it. Daniel chapter 7 verse 2 says, "Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea." Let's pause right there. What does the sea or the water symbolize, folks? Very good. Multitudes of people that speak different languages. Now he says, I saw the wind and so on, strife going over the sea. Wind in Bible prophecy represents war and strife. So he sees a lot of turmoil among the people or the multitudes there that speak these different languages. All right? Let's continue on in verse 3. He says, "And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse or different, one from another." All right. Here is the key question tonight, most important one. What does a beast represent or symbolize in Bible prophecy? In other words, we've got this beast of Revelation 13. God says don't worship it, don't worship its image, don't receive the mark from this beast. But now we've got these four other beasts that are coming up. What does a beast represent? Let's get the answer. No guessing, no speculating. It's right here in your Bible, verse 17. Verse 17 goes on to say, "These great beasts, which are four what?" Yeah, fourth kings which shall arise out of the earth. All right, so we know a beast here represents a king. However, it broadens it a little bit farther if you'll go down to verse 23. Verse 23 says, "Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth" what? Kingdom. So, ladies and gentlemen, in Bible prophecy, when you read about a beast, it simply represents a king and his kingdom. Now that makes perfect sense, because we do the same thing still today. We use different beasts or animals to represent different kingdoms of this world, right? If I were to say a buffalo or an eagle, what country do you think of? United States of America. If I say a dragon, what country do you think of? China. If I would say a bear, what country did you used to think of? Russia and so on. Yeah, God's been doing this for a long time. In fact, we got the idea from God. He's used animals and beasts to represent different kingdoms of the world. He's been doing that for many, many years. So, whenever you read about a beast in prophecy, it simply represents a king and his kingdom. Now, how many beasts come up? Can you all tell me? Four come up. How many medals were on the image last night? Also 4. It's going to be the exact same thing. We're just using different symbolisms here. So let's begin with the first beast in verse 4. This is the first king and his kingdom. And it says in verse 4, "The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it." Who did we discover last night was that first beast, the first king and his kingdom? That was Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar and the kingdom of Babylon. Now it's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, as you read in the Bible, the symbol of Babylon, believe it or not, was a winged lion. There's a number of verses, I'll just quote them to you quickly. First of all, you'll find as you look in Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 7, compare it with 2 Kings 24, verse 1, compare that with Jeremiah 51, verse 37 and 38. All through the Bible, Babylon is represented as a lion with eagle's wings. In fact, even today, you can go over there to those Middle East countries, Iran, Iraq, and you go in that area over there, and you will see the ancient ruins of Babylon. They still sit there, this old city, and so on. And they have the gates to that city, and many of the walls are still standing, and you will see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of winged lions all over Babylon. It was their national symbol. So this makes sense. God starts the prophecy just where we did last night with Daniel, who's living in this kingdom called Babylon. Babylon began to rule in 606 BC, before Christ, and he ruled until 539 BC. So that's the first one. Let's go to the second one now in verse 5. The second one says, "And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear. And it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, and devour much flesh." All right, what was the second beast or king in his kingdom that came up and destroyed Babylon? Who was that? Medo-Persia. Very good. So we got this on the screen. And it's interesting when it says that this bear, this kingdom, came up on one side. You know why? You'll find out that the Persians came up first, but they weren't quite powerful enough, and then they were joined by the Medes and became a joint empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, but that's why it came up on one side. Persians were first, and then they conquered Babylon in 539 BC, and they ruled until 331 BC. Now you say, what about the 3 ribs in its mouth? What do the 3 ribs here represent or symbolize? I have to tell you, there is nowhere in the Bible that specifically interprets those 3 ribs. But most likely, since they're in his mouth as it's conquered, it represents the 3 territories of the then known world that they conquered. That was the territory of Libya, often known as Babylonia, Lydia, and Egypt. That was the whole territory of the then known world that they conquered as they began to rule in 539 BC until 331. Okay, so that takes care of that one. Let's go to the third one. This is in verse 6 now. This is the leopard-like beast. It says, "After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it." All right, the fourth or third beast, the third king in his kingdom. What kingdom was this that overthrew Medo-Persia? All of you study that. Yes, it was the kingdom of Greece. Now, please notice something interesting. This beast, this leopard, has 4 wings. How many did Babylon have? Just 2. Wings in Bible prophecy, Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 8, other places, they represent speed or symbolize swiftness. So what you've got here is 4 wings or double fast, double swift. It's representing, folks, the Grecian Empire, and it's a perfect symbolism. Because under the swift arm of Alexander the Great, Greece conquered the entire then known world in a very short period of time. You've all studied that in your history school. They came quickly. Alexander was an incredible general, just led the army right across. They conquered everything in just a very short period of time. But you know what happened? When they got through conquering everything, Alexander didn't know what to do with himself anymore. And he got depressed. And when he got depressed, he became an alcoholic. And one night he drank himself to death, not long after he had conquered the whole world. And they didn't know what to do. So you know what happened? His kingdom was immediately divided into 4 parts by his 4 top generals. No doubt represented by the 4 heads on the leopard. Because as soon as Alexander conquered the world, Greece, it was temporarily divided. By the way, the northern territory was taken over by General Lysimachus. The southern territory was taken over by General Ptolemy. The eastern territory was taken over by General Seleucus. And the western territory was taken over by General Cassander, represented by the 4 heads as the Grecian Empire was quickly divided, and it continued to after that. So that's that one. They ruled from 331 BC until 168 BC. Now we come to the final one, and this is what they call the nondescript one in verse 7. All right, verse 7 says, "After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong,